I got a guest review here because, a lot of times I review the wrestling programs or the wrestling events, and I put my particular spin on things, but possibly sometimes that's not what the people think, right? So I decided I want the people to have their the people, Brian, the Cult of Cornette listeners, to have their opportunity to have their opinions heard about some of these shows. And it was a show that some people foolishly asked me if I was going to watch and review. And of course, this was not going to happen. But Jacob here, Jacob from, I guess he's from New York. He's from the New York area. He had to be somewhere around there. He doesn't say exactly where he's from. Probably doesn't want these people to track him down. But he went to the Garbage Championship Wrestling event they had in the city here a week or two ago with the bank-addicted drug robber and the CEO of Moxley Plumbing and poor Briscoe's slumming. And would you like to hear his review? Just some high points of the events of that night.
I will just say I obviously didn't watch this event, but I don't know if I've seen a worse reviewed big event was on pay-per-view, a worse reviewed event like this in The Observer. I was shocked at how negative even Dave was on this show. So yeah, I'd actually be curious to hear this review.
Well, the Hardley boys weren't on it, so he can be a nattering nabob of negativity if his buddies aren't there, but it was the same flavor of stuff, probably not even as good as they do it. Just the same whiff of taint you get from their stylings. But Jacob writes, on Sunday night this past weekend, Garbage Championship Wrestling held their big show in the Hammerstein Ballroom. I know you won't review it. Please don't put yourself through more misery than you already do with all of the WWE and AEW. I don't want to add to that. So I watched the pay-per-view and have some notes for you. So he was not there in person. He's not from New York. I don't want to malign poor Jacob by accusing him of being from somewhere like that he's not. But he did see the pay-per-view, and after all, that's where the big money's made, right? So here's his review. Lots of flippy stuff in early matches. The ladder debacle was a bad train wreck. Jeff Jarrett proved that he still has it, and everyone else has no idea what they're doing. I'd take Jarrett on his worst day over anyone else on this card, quite honestly. I was really looking forward to seeing Jonathan Gresham, but he was pulled due to a COVID-related issue. I'll cut to the meat of the matter. Well, they did it. I didn't think they could, but they made me lose interest in the Briscoes versus FTR feud. Garbage Championship Wrestling booked the Briscoe brothers to lose to the bank-addicted drug robber and a bald, fat deathmatch fuck in under 6 fucking minutes. Under 6 fucking minutes. Let's go over why this happened. They obviously ran short on time. They had Jelly Nutella and Matt Cardona go 20 minutes, not including at least 6 to 7 minutes on entrances. That may have been honestly because Jelly couldn't find the ring. Plunder and furniture and bullshit and more bullshit. Run in after run in after run in. Who ran in? A midget. A big dumpy fat guy. Virgil. No, seriously, Virgil came to the ring with a Vince McMahon mask and the No Chance in Hell music. Seriously. Then Brian Myers.
Let me stop you there.
Go ahead.
Because I read something in The Observer. Maybe it was Sean Waltman coming out to the DX music. Did they use WWE music on the televised pay-per-view?
Oh, well, that is a good point. He says the No Chance in Hell music. So.
Interesting.
Paging Mr. McDevitt, Mr. Jerry McDevitt. But anyway, that wasn't all the run-ins. Because then Brian Myers, a la the old guy, runs in a black trench coat and biker helmet and spears someone's spot and then takes off his helmet. Oh, and X-Pac ran in too. These run-ins were more of a copy of Impact Wrestling than a copy of WWE. Garbage fans were excited when this was added to traditional pay-per-view, but they proved that they can't control their talent when it comes to timing out a show at all. Moxley versus Homicide went 11 minutes with a flat finish. That was the semi-main event. The Briscoes put out an open challenge to any team. Big pop for the Briscoes. FTR chants. Will FTR come out? Nope. First out is the fat, bald deathmatch guy who paid Onita to come to New Jersey and set his ass on fire. Then the bank-addicted drug robber. Big crazy brawl right off the bat. Maybe one or two false finishes. Gage pile drives a Briscoe through a door. Yes, a door. The wrestling company that sold out the Hammerstein Ballroom had doors used in their matches. They can't afford tables. Gage does his choke slam pin. 1, 2, 3, match over. Under 6 minutes, your new GCW tag team champions, the drug-addicted, meth-mouthed bank robber and his fat, bald friend. How in the ever-loving French fried titty fuck could a promoter fuck up the Briscoes? FTR wrestled the Rock and Roll Express Saturday, and the Briscoes got beat by glorified backyard deathmatch homeless-looking bums in under 6 minutes. I fucking hate when people try to play WWE and do big-time shows in big-time buildings. They fuck it up for us older fans who want something to believe in. The Briscoes and FTR are cutting heated promos, taking jabs at each other, had a pull-apart at the ROH show, and now they've shit the bed. If backyarders can beat the Briscoes in 6 minutes, then FTR should be able to beat them in 1 minute. Like Dusty Rhodes once said, don't do shit you don't know how to do. These indie companies should stay in their small rec centers and high school gyms and not try anything bigger that includes time restraints and having cards that make sense. I'm a disgruntled fan, and that's my opinion. Thank you, Jacob. Very astute observations from the... Maybe that's the thing. The people running Garbage Championship Wrestling, they ought to let some of the people in the seats run the company, and they ought to be occupying aforesaid seats. What do you think, Brian?
I really don't know because I don't pay too much attention to that. I did hear that Jeff Jarrett's match was especially awful, so it's interesting to hear him put over Jeff Jarrett in this review. But
that's well, and there you go, because he probably had the only thing resembling a wrestling match where the heel tried to get heat and fuck up the fucking babyface and make the people mad.
He was wrestling, from what I read, against a guy who tried to stick Marco Stunt's face into a dildo.
Well, you can't control stuff like that. But the point I was trying to make was if the crowd that goes to see shit like this actually sees professionals that know what they're doing, it doesn't compute. And they go, oh, that match sucked. Nobody dove off the roof.
Meltzer made it sound in The Observer like even the Moxley homicide match the crowd was dead for whatever reason. The way Dave put it was he expected a loud Hammerstein crowd like we've seen for other shows, and it wasn't there for whatever reason.
Well, again, that not only... It could be a reflection on the match they were seeing, or it could be a reflection on the matches they had seen. How much horse shit did they have to sit through to get to that point? Was it another one of these? Obviously, if they were bad on time, it was one of these overly long, overly fucking train wreck indie shows. And then you get to the main events, the matches that allegedly sold the tickets with the talent that the people wanted to see the most. And they've got the least amount of time because these other marks on the undercard can't control themselves and think that they're important and people came to see them. And there's no person in charge, whether it be Tony Khan or whoever the fucking boss of Garbage Championship Wrestling is. Nobody can tell them what to do because they don't know what to do themselves, and nobody is listening to those bosses anyway because they have no spine and they have no fucking balls. And they let the guys do whatever the fuck they want to do because they can't stop. And that's what you get. And people spend a lot of money and a lot of fucking time to put these things on, and they fall to shit because of a lack of experience and planning aforehand. So there you go. And also, but I mean, the less time that they had for people to dive off ladders into barbed wire and broken glass and hit each other with light tubes or whatever the fuck else they do, the better. But still, if you're going to sell the guy biting the head off the chicken at the county fair, then don't fucking run all out of time with the fat lady and the bearded kid, and you don't have time to put the geek out there to bite the chicken off.
From what I heard, they couldn't do the normal geek show because the New York State Athletic Commission said, no, none of this flies here in New York.
Oh, golly. You mean there an actual government entity enforcing the law saying, yeah, you people, what the fuck's the matter with you? Why do you want to do all this shit? None of this is related to wrestling or athletics or entertainment. Anyway, you know what they all need, Brian?
What's that?
A new line of work.
Okay.
That's what every single one of them needs. Do you think? So the bank-addicted drug robber, he gets out of prison. Instead of going back to what led him down that road to ruin, this nasty death match type wrestling stuff, what if he'd have said, you know what? I can learn instead to code. Now, a guy like Nick Gage, with that bright look on his face and that beautiful mouthful of pearly white teeth, he's got such a great smile. And you can just see when he smiles and the brightness in his eyes, the intelligence in his face, it lights up. If he was building websites and learning to code on his own terms, by the way, he could do it on his own terms. He could walk into the bank that he robbed and he could sit down with his laptop and he could open it up and he could learn to code right there on his own. No, I think he's actually barred from that place. Well, folks, if you're not barred from any banks that you've robbed in the past, and you want to change your career, there's never been a better time to become a programmer. And with Codecademy, as we mentioned, you can learn to code on your own terms. As a matter of fact, you can decide what you pay these people. You can decide what you want to learn and what you don't want to learn. Sometimes you can tell the people at Codecademy to fuck off if they want to teach you something you're not interested in. Of course, then you'll wind up once again in the gutter somewhere in a sewer and robbing banks if you don't listen to your teachers. But nevertheless, Codecademy can help you reach your coding goals, whether you're starting from scratch, straight out of prison for robbing banks, or looking to advance from a dead-end job that you've already got. Your boss may not recognize your full potential, but Codecademy does, and that's why they want to recruit you into this army that they're building that's over 50 million people strong. This group of people from all around the world, all over the globe, are going to know these codes and know how to write them and know how to build these sites. And one day, this race of people called the Codinis will be running the world. They'll take over every government. They'll overthrow every form of authority, and you'll have to go to these Codinis to get anything done. Folks, you want to be one of these people. That's right. I'm telling you, it's a secret society, and they're building it, Brian, right underneath our noses. The Codecademy people, they're going to be the new administrators of world order, and you can join them. Folks, you can learn the coding languages like Python and HTML and SQL and JavaScript. And that way, whether they assign you to an outpost in the Pacific or possibly one of the bunkers at one of the poles.
Who's assigning them?
The head of Codecademy. We're not supposed to mention his name, but he'll tell you where to go. He'll put you where you're most useful, and then you can run that part of the world. So you may be running your own Pacific Island, possibly Pago. But if you're not sure where to begin, Codecademy will point you in the right direction and say, go over there and wait for us. Get instant feedback, like, go now! Your code is tested as soon as you submit it. If nothing blows up, you'll know you're on the right track. And an interactive platform helps you learn by doing. At the same time, you'll be doing the bidding of our leader. Join the over 50 million people learning to code with Codecademy and see where coding can take you. And right now, folks, if you want to land your dream job in web development, programming, computer science, data science, and tons more, you can also get 15% off your Codecademy Pro membership when you go to codecademy.com and use the promo code EXPERIENCE. That's EXPERIENCE. But if you can't spell experience, you probably can't take over the world. Codecademy.com, 15% off. The best way to learn to code, CODECADEMY, codecademy.com, promo code EXPERIENCE.